I haven't had a chance to meet everyone here. You haven't met me. I'm Jerome Reuter. I'm an author and film critic who specializes in applying philosophical and from Socratic method and analytical thinking to heavy metal and film and art. But what I'm doing today is I'm offering a discourse on three of my favorite subjects that relates to taking down the fucking idiotic stereotypes that exist around Boston. These topics are subversion, deconstruction, and Friedrich Nietzsche's theory on eternal recurrence. Woodstock, 1969. Hubris in the guise of enlightenment is defeated by the failure of those in attendance to understand subversive performance that takes place. The Who, performing sections from their rock opera Tommy, are cheered on by those in the crowd, not realizing that the entire album is an indictment against the rising drug culture, blindly following trends and a danger that persists within the cult of celebrity. The self-congratulatory ethos and its insufferable elitism end when Pete Townsend smashes Abby Hoffman with his guitar. This is an example of deconstruction eradicating art that operates under false pretense. If you look hard enough, there's always been art that goes against the grain of societal expectations. Somewhere, smoldering in the embers, in the fire, there's art that that will show us a better way to subvert and deconstruct the material given to us by the pop culture lexicon. The Beatles sang, "I want to hold your hand." The Who proclaimed, "I hope I die before I get old." The Dave Clark Five reveled in "feeling glad all over." The Kinks stated, "I'm not like everybody else." Transgression in the form of punk and metal do not exist without the Who or the Kinks. Living in Boston means existing in the shadow of stereotypes that popular culture tends to manifest and exhibit. If these misconceptions were true, we would all be avid fans of the Dropkick Murphys and spend all our time at Dunkin' Donuts in Fenway Park. Thankfully, many of us don't conform to this caricature of New England that seems to permeate everywhere. Thank fucking God. So much the better. There are much more important things to embrace than what the rest of the world presents as truth, especially for those of us who live in Boston. Woody Guthrie honored Stocco and Vanzetti with his ballad Two Good Men, lamenting the Italian immigrants executed for an alleged crime. However, if there was any transgression these two men were guilty of, it was their belief in anarchism. This is something that exists today in our modern justice system, and several decades ago, there were artists willing to throw a middle finger to the fucking establishment and speak out. Woody's son, Arlo Guthrie, who, in Alice's Restaurant, painted a tongue-in-cheek picture of the counterculture, which included the military drafting people to fight in a pointless war, the overzealousness of law enforcement to flex their authority, and a garbage dump that was closed on Thanksgiving. Yet I don't think I've ever heard of a garbage dump closed on Thanksgiving, as you do. Deconstructing societal expectations and false assumptions is easier than you might think. This can be done by seeking out art, music, and literature that isn't force-fed to us by the juggernaut of pop culture. There are always exceptions, a quality we found in contemporary culture, the underground, and especially among places that don't get much exposure, like this here. A philosophy exists within this process, something Friedrich Nietzsche described as eternal recurrence. This is where events happen again in a continuous loop with no end. We've seen this in how pop culture attempts to pacify us. How is this endless feedback loop silenced? All it takes is subversion. Subversion is finding a way to attack the status quo and deconstruct the establishment's grip on various forms of art and entertainment. Subversion is spending your time listening to the bands who are performing on stage tonight, buying the items from local vendors, both of whom are here out of love for their art and not to line their fucking pockets. And, at the risk of sounding like an egoist, listening to some writer who had the bright idea to apply philosophical analysis to heavy metal and who's speaking at this very moment. Discovering new art forms that deconstruct normalcy and are subversive to the societal expectations is a lifelong process. There's always something new to learn and discover, and you might find that something that appears mundane or pedestrian speaks to you in a way you might not have expected it to. If you think I'm pretentious, I have no place here, feel free to think that. I spent my entire life in a state of existential dread and self-contempt. I've also dedicated much of my existence to being smarter than the people that bark back at me. I only ask you one thing. Never be complacent with what you enjoy and create on your own. Always be on the lookout for new things. Understand that the process of writing, musicianship, artistry, and other forms of expression is continually ongoing. The moment we become complacent with either, we cease forward movement and place ourselves at the mercy of eternal recurrence. The choice is yours. As Robert Frost might have put it, there are two paths to choose from. In my experience, it's always best to follow the path less traveled. Thank you.